Hey, everybody, what is up? Good morning. It's the Morning Mikey show, the morning audio show with Mikey. And I'm going to do a quick one this morning. This morning, I was gone at 9 o'clock. I was down in Decatur, part of Georgia. It's called Decatur, but I'm doing the French accent. Look what happened. Oh, what is that, you guys? That's the Mikey pony. Samson's locks came off the back. Now I got that little short little thing. Yeah, man, it was just this will be a little bit better. I can still slick it back. Anyways, so this will go to cancer patients that need wigs. It is 10 inches long, which is at least what we need. Once you pull the curls out, it gets pretty long. Anyways, okay, so getting to it, I'm going to do my quick daily thing. Today, I'm talking about audio grounding. Grounding, what's the deal with this grounding? You hear all sorts of crap about grounding and grounding this and grounding that and spending tons of money on grounding devices. Well, grounding is important, right? Okay, so grounding, you otherwise known as earth. Okay, so what does grounding mean? Grounding is connecting your electricity to planet Earth. Okay. That is what it is. There are a couple different reasons for doing that. The main reason is to drain away spurious current. Just think of it that way. When you need to dump current, that's garbage current. It's running around, whether it's from lightning, whether it's from over voltage, whether it's from a short circuit, whether it's from whatever. If all of a sudden there's current that needs to be dumped and gotten rid of because it's either dangerous or noisy, you dump it to earth. You drop it into a rod that goes into the earth and it dissipates it into the ground or the earth. There are two different kinds, two very distinct different types of grounding on audio gear. One of them is safety ground. Safety ground is, see, I will look. I feel like Mr. Rogers here. I thought I had all those things. Where'd they all go? I lost them. I should have my little bag of tricks here. Oh, here it is. Okay. So safety ground is this, the third prong. Okay, that thing right there, the number 3, this one right in the middle. That's safety ground. Safety ground is on all your components. It's on all your power cords, and that is intended so if something short circuits inside the piece of audio gear, that it will dump any dangerous ground any dangerous current or electricity to the ground so that you don't get electrocuted. So the third pin is on here so you don't get electrocuted. So typically on the backside here, you're going to see a wire come out and it moves about an inch over and it goes right to the chassis of the gear and on a screw. So that means if the screw the chassis becomes energized with the short, something causes current to go into the metal chassis. Through that screw, it'll come back into here, and it'll come out this little third pin, and it'll go down your cable. It'll go into your house wiring ground, and it'll go outside the house and into the earth. Okay, so that's what that's for. This is safety ground. There is another ground. Another ground is called signal ground. Now, let's see if I can make this easy for you to see. Well, if you look on this board, this is a ground plane, this lighter part, okay, and then this over here, these are grounds, okay. This is signal ground, okay, and then or however, I'm not sure if I have that exactly right. It's one of the others, either the dark or the light, okay. There's ground planes on it. That's signal ground. So that when you have an RCA output like this on the back of your gear, this little ring around here is signal ground. This goes to the big ground planes on the chassis. Signal ground is your 0 voltage reference for making your amplitude. Okay, that just means for making the signal that goes like this. When it goes whoop and it goes up like that, if you look at a graph and we take horizontal lines, when that thing goes up, there's different levels of how far up it goes. That's your amplitude. How far up, how down, whatever. Okay. You need to have a 0 voltage reference to go along with your signal. So you've got signal and you've got ground. Signal is the center pin. So that center pin is signal, the outside is ground. On a circuit board, there's the signal makes differences in variations in voltage, just like that too. So that is the high frequency, the is the low frequency, right? So more voltage, more oomph, higher amplitude. Okay, that's how you make your sound. You vary, you pulse or modulate that. And I may be. This is for the sake. Engineers, don't critique this shit right now. I'm trying to make it understandable for everybody, and it's close enough. Okay, so you modulate that shit. That's how you get your sound, right? You modulate voltage. Make it. Okay. So you need to have a 0 reference to know exactly how high, because it's gonna. It needs to have a 0 reference because the 0 is the middle of the line, right? If you have now, okay, so that needs to be dead nuts 0 on your on every. This is an amplifier board, okay? So on this amp board, when it's making its amplitude, you need to have a 0 volt reference on these ground planes, or these ground planes, whichever one's ground. This is probably signal, and I think the dark one is probably the ground plane because it's bigger. Yeah, that is it. And so you need to have 0. Now, every single power supply has something called leakage current. That means that the power supply board, it's another board that we have that makes the power. It leaks a little current, okay? And that current needs to be drained off. So that leakage current is supposed to go here, right? But this signal ground that is on here, people tie to the chassis ground. A lot of times, and I can't tell if this one has, but you see how there's that metal ring around this screw hole? So if that is connected to the ground plane, then the ground plane is connected to the chassis through these little things called standoffs, which are these little metal things that hold it up, right? They look like little octagon things that you can, they're nuts. And that is how the ground plane gets connected to the chassis. This third pin is also connected to the chassis. Okay, that's so that your signal ground can be connected to chassis, and the spurious small currents that come out of the power supply can drain out of here too. The problem is when you drain the leakage current comes off the power supply and you put it to chassis, it can come back, that current can come back into here and get onto the board. So you can jack with your signal ground by connecting it to safety ground. Also, we all know that safety ground can bring induced noise. Noise from the outside can come up the ground leg and into the component from other components. If you plug in another piece of gear that's a high frequency, switching mode power supply or something like that that's not filtered well, it can dump spurious noise back onto the ground. That can come up into your gear through this, and then go through the standoff and get onto your signal ground. That's why it's so important to get rid of the why all these elaborate grounding things exist. Because what they do is they will go on the outside, and it will be a little teeny metal ring that you'll stick on the outside of your RCA, and then it will go down to a grounding thing, and it will enhance your signal ground. It will help to get that. Any noise that comes back, it will help just drain it off there. In some gear, in some Nelson Pass designs and some other gear I've seen, you will see signal ground on the back of the gear. Super cool and rare. That means that company has gone through the trouble of isolating signal ground from the chassis ground. That is, in my opinion, every piece of gear should have that. They should all be isolated from one another, so that they don't mix, so that you don't pollute your signal ground with your safety ground. That is highly unlikely to happen because it's too much work. People aren't going to go through that. It's too much work and it's too tweaky, but it is the kick-ass way to do things. Could you go into your own gear and isolate every one of these with rubber isolators and plastic screws and all this shit, or put it on wood blocks or whatever? And you could go in and mod your gear and isolate signal from safety if you wanted to. You could do it. Now, I don't recommend anybody does that, but these are the kind of things that when I was going down the squirrel hole, I would do stuff like that just to see if it made a difference. Many times it does, but in the end, it's usually not worth the headache that it goes through. And then sometimes you can compromise protection of circuits and things like that, where, if you don't know what you're doing, you can break your gear, burn your gear up. So in a nutshell, there is safety ground and there is signal ground. And I'm painting the picture that they're two different things. And they're best isolated. Some gear does isolate them. Many of it doesn't. 99% of it does not isolate signal from safety ground. That is why these extra signal ground things that go on to RCAs that go down, that's why they exist, to enhance the signal ground remaining at a zero. We want that ground at zero. We don't want microvolts. Usually it's millivolts that are on there, just a little bit of current, but it's enough to throw off the amplitude, so it's not absolutely correct. And if it has high frequency noise on that current, then it's even worse. Then we're adding noise. So that is the whole schlemiel in a nutshell about grounding. Yes, it is totally important. Yes, there are two different types of signal. There's signal and there's safety ground. And yes, ground enhancements do work. Does it require a ton of extra dough for the signal acquirement? No. When you're spending $10,000, $20,000 on ground boxes, it's just another thing that we do in hi-fi that we can capitalize on. Let's put it that way. You could take a little teeny wire and you could wrap it around here, and then you could take it and run it to your wall, to the unused socket, and put it in that third hole pin, and you'd have the same thing. When we make grounding devices, we just elaborate that process and make it much easier for you to hook up. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed the morning audio show with Mikey. I know it's afternoon, but I had to get my hair chopped. And thanks for joining. Come again. I'll see you tomorrow. And remember, Wednesday nights are the live stream. And go to 11 Stereo. Also, I almost forgot to do this. Subscribe to the channel. Give me your thumbs up and show me your support. I appreciate it. Go to 11stereo.com. Okay, 11stereo.com, and you'll be able to sell your used gear for free. And you'll be able to, as buyers, you'll be able to buy from a lot of us big dogs that really don't care about getting the money out of our used stuff. I'm looking around because I'm looking for used stuff to show you something. We will sell it for peanuts. We just want it to go to a good home. We don't really care. We don't need the money necessarily, but it's doing us no good sitting there. So why not sell it to a young blood or a young audiophile, or an audiophile that's on a tighter budget, and let somebody else benefit that's really into music. So that happens on the 11 Stereo forums under the trading post. So go there. But anyways, thanks for joining, and I hope you guys have a happy holiday. This is the morning of December 22nd, and I will see you